What's up, Mason? How's it going? What's up, Christine? Princess Ag TV. Out here throwing a big bluegill swim bait. What's up, Release? Throwing I think this is a 7-inch swim bait. About 2.5 ounces. To be quite frank, I don't think there's anything big enough to want to eat this thing, but you never know. Pretty sure this pond's just full of a bunch of dinks, though. Got the old Jackal Gantarelle Senior, I guess you'd call it, because I know they made a junior. This is the full size, though. Your ear? What do you mean convince your ear about that bait, or this bait? Like, make you want to buy it? Bait casters are definitely worth it. I mean, when it comes to bigger appliances like this, a spinning rod that'd be able to cast this kind of bait would weigh like twice as much. Their bait casters are typically more versatile within the 1/4 ounce to 1 to 2 ounce range for freshwater, assuming that's what they're for. I mean, if it's saltwater, then yeah, I mean, spinning reels is the way to go. But like freshwater, I mean, you can get stiffer rods. They cast heavier things better. And they're better in the wind, for sure, if you know what you're doing. My personal opinion, the bait casters are stiffer than most of your spinning rods that are lighter. They're more accurate. And they have more torque than spinning reels do. They have considerably more torque. There's a reason why deep sea reels are always conventional or bait casters. And it's because they're torqueier than spinning reels. They have faster gear ratios. So if you're flipping and pitching or you're running something on the bottom that requires that kind of motion, typically your bait casting reels can have higher gear ratios. I prefer bait casters. But it's all personal preference when it really comes down to it. This thing does float. Cool. So, Brennan, I know a guy named Brennan. I think it's spelled different though. I think it's spelled Brannon, like B-R-A. He runs a striper guide on Lake Texoma. He's a cool guy. Definitely would recommend him if you're on the Oklahoma side of the lake. Be cool if I got bit on this big ol' swim bait. I doubt I will in this pond though. I honestly doubt it. Now tomorrow, I might be going to a significantly better pond than this one that I know has big fish in it. Was that convincing enough, unpredictable? Who else wants some fishing knowledge? I don't know everything, but I know quite a damn bit. Still haven't figured out skipping yet. I could do it with a spinning rod, but I can't quite do it comfortably with a bait caster. I can do it every now and then, but like I'm not to the point where I'm skipping jackhammers. Just got blown up on, letting it sit. That is the second time I've had a fish hit this thing, but completely miss it. Not even get one of the hooks. This is one of the first times in a long time I've had likes in the double digits. Something just wake toward it. Honestly, I should probably be going after the bluegigi. This would be a good night to go after bluegill. Got a little bluegill fry going. Always wanted to try bluegill. I haven't had it, but I heard they're really good to eat. I think we can back off those brakes just a little bit, if you ask me. I personally think that the centrifugal braking system is one of the coolest things on planet Earth. That's just my personal opinion, though. Fall. Like that's centrifugal brakes, no thumbing at all. I mean, I still made it a good distance. I mean, it's not going to be as far as casting a Texas rig on like an LTI, like my Elite TI or a Corrado DC. But for throwing a 2.5 ounce swim bait, that's pretty good. Oh my God, we got one. On the Gantorel. That is an absolute giant. The first fish on the Gantorel was a little squeaker, but I mean, he's definitely big enough to eat something like this. Like, I don't know. Fish is a fish. Oh, Drippy. It's not really a big bass. Bait casters aren't hard to throw once you get the hang of it. And I mean, if you want to learn how to use a bait caster fast and have a bait caster that's very nice, spend the extra $1, get a DC. It doesn't have to be a carotid DC, doesn't have to be a metanium DC, doesn't have to be an Antares DC or a Monster Drive, you know. Those are all, you know, $500 reels. But, you know, carotid DC is $260, or an SLX, you know, it's about $200. Those are really good bait casters to learn on. They're a little expensive for a beginner reel, but from experience, I mean, I learned how to use a bait caster in 5 minutes with one of those, and now I don't have to use a DC. I mean, I got most of my reels are centrifugal braking now. I mean, I say most. I've been getting more centrifugal braking than I have been getting DC reels. I mean, I still love my DC reels. They kind of get annoying after about 500 casts and no fish. But another thing you'll notice with reels that don't have the DC is their spools are bigger and the reels are overall smaller. Like if this was a DC reel, this reel would probably be a whole handful. I caught one little bass just a second ago, which is funny. You'd think you'd catch bigger fish on a bait like this. You know, I'll show you what I'm using here in a second. That was crazy. That's actually a nice fish too. Mabel, get out of the way. Mabel, move. That is a nice little fish. This pond. It's a little skinny. Post spawn. God, I hate using treble hooks. I should have brought needle nose. Big old heavy head shakes. Typical. Now that is a fish that would eat this swim bait. That's a solid 3-pounder any day of the week. I say 3, probably 2.5. Either way, that is definitely a fish I could see eating a 7-inch bluegill swim bait. There we go. I can't really see what you're saying right at the moment, but that is a fish that would definitely eat this. Cool. Number 2 on the big blue gigi. That was a cool eat too. Hope you guys saw that. But I've caught that one and a little one before that on this blue gigi swim bait. The designers of this swim bait were honestly geniuses. It's Japanese made. And it's funny because Japanese fishing technology, in my opinion, is further ahead than American technology in some areas. Not every area, but most areas, it's further ahead. But this swim bait has such an ingenious design. They took these fins here, and basically if you hook it up here, they work like the lip of a crankbait and they pull the bait down to about 3 feet. But when you hook it here on the bottom, it runs just under the surface and the fins hold it up just under the surface. And that's how I've been running it, just like a wake bait. It's good fluorocarbon. I'm gonna retie after that fish. I know it wasn't that big, but when you're using a $50 swim bait, you kind of, it's actually like your $70 swim bait. When you're using a big swim bait like this, you kind of get cautious. I would tie it on the top line, but it would run too deep and it'd catch all the grass in here. This pond is super grassy, and I'm not trying to catch any grass in here right now. But the way it's been running perfectly just under the surface. Sometimes the fin even breaks the surface like a shark, which is pretty cool. Always wet your knots before you tighten them. Question for all the anglers out there, what knots do you use? And do you change your knots depending on bait to bait? Me personally, 9 times out of 10, I'm using a Palomar knot. Unless it's like a swim bait or a swim jig, then I use a loop knot. I'm glad you think that way. I have 3 Corrado DCs, and I think they're some of the best things I've ever bought. I also got a Corrado 300K. I got a Corrado M. And then I just recently got a Luz Elite TI, and I think that tops about everything I have. It's also the most expensive reel I've ever purchased. I actually think it's the most expensive piece of fishing equipment I've ever purchased by itself. I think next I'm going to get a Antares Monster Drive, and I'm going to put it on my big swim bait rod, or one of them. Probably get the faster gear ratio and just use it as a flipping and pitching reel. The TI is also, what's a Corrado run you nowadays? 260, 270? The Elite TI is 500. And I mean, it's titanium plated, so yeah, it's probably gonna top all the other ones. It's the lightest reel I've ever used. It's not the smoothest. I gotta give it to Shimano. Shimano has always been the smoothest reel brand I've ever used. It's smoother than the Daiwa I had a while back, which was a $220 reel. I traded it in for a Corrado 300 just because I didn't like it. It did not feel like a $220 reel. It was also too fast of a gear ratio, and it was really big. But it's definitely the lightest. And it holds about the same as a Corrado DC, but it's significantly smaller in the hand than a Corrado DC. And paired with a Dobbins Champion HP, it weighs nothing. I think the whole rod weighs a total of like 8 ounces. The Pro TI runs 400. The Elite TI runs 500. And that's MSRP. That's like from lose.com. It runs 500. I'm sure some company has deals on it because nobody wants to pay 500 for a reel. Unless you're a Shimano geek, I guess. Or a Daiwa geek, because the Stees are like, what, 700? And then they have that $1,000 reel, that digital one that competes with like the DC reels. To be honest, I'd take the DC reels over it just because I don't want to have to charge my reel. I don't want to have to worry about dropping it in the water because that's going to happen from time to time. I really don't want to have to worry about things like, I don't know. I like the DCs more than I like that Daiwa that they came out with, the $900 one. My first baitcaster was a Luz Classic Pro. And I gotta say, it's probably, I'm letting one of my friends use it, but it still functions. And I've had it for 6 or 7 years now. And it's still running. And I haven't done anything to it other than like basic maintenance. Now, it's pretty dinged up because it's a 7-year-old reel and it's a Walmart reel. But honestly, like the Lew's reactors or the Lew's Classic Pros, they're up there. Or the newer American Heroes. Those are good combos overall, and they're only like $100 combos. I think that was a catfish over there. But all it is really setting it right. You know, what you want to do is you want to take your tension knob. Now, I know this isn't a very good example because this is totally different. Yeah, I agree with you, Spartan. I think we are at the peak of fishing technology. It's still fishing, but there is some cool features of these newer reels. Like, this is an older reel. I say older. It's not brand new, and I love this reel. This is great. It's centrifugal braking, and it's got a great tension knob setup. It's super torquey. It's probably one of the torqueest reels I've ever used, but it's still like, it's $220 for one of the best swim bait reels I've ever used. And I've used a handful. I've used Alexa, and I've used a couple others. I used a Corrado 200M, and this has got to be the best. Now, the Corrado 200M, I also got entirely too fast of a gear ratio. I got the XG, so it's on my flipping setup. It's a great reel, I gotta say, great reel. The smoothness didn't last as long as I would like it to, but I've also had it for like 3 years, and it's now starting to get crunchy. But every reel gets crunchy after so long. But right now, I think we are in the perfect age of fishing. It's still fishing, but there are cool automations that we have now. You know, live scope, I don't think we need to go any further than what we are with live scope. And I think it's getting a little ridiculous now. There are dudes with literally flat screen TVs mounted to the front of their boats. But even with live scope, you still have to get the fish to bite. Like, yeah, you can see what it's doing. You can see where they are. You can find them way better or way easier. But you still have to get the fish to bite. You know, you still have to find the perfect presentation that they want. You know, 9 times out of 10 in the middle of winter when dudes are scoping fish, those fish have already been scoped and people have already tried to catch them and the fish didn't bite. You know, but there's still, like, you still have to catch the fish. You know, just because you see it doesn't mean you caught it. That's my argument on live scope. Now, it is getting ridiculous when there's dudes with 40-inch screens on the front of their boats. Like, what good does that do you? I've caught 2. I caught a pretty nice one, then I caught a little guy on this Swimbait. I remember you, Lauren. Honestly, I want to say there is a way. I think it's just the grease. Like, you just have to grease them really good, because that's what makes them smooth. Now, you can grease it, and then you'll have your anti-reverse. It'll slip because you over-greased it. That is something I learned whenever it was like a couple years ago. I way over-greased an SLX. I mean, like, I dumped grease in it, trying to make it smooth again. And, you know, unless you take it back apart and you re-grease it, or you, like, take some of that grease off, your anti-reverse will slip. Kind of like drag, except the whole thing just spins backwards. And I didn't like that. So I traded it in and I got a Corrado. Got a Corrado 200M. I think that's what I traded in for the Corrado 200. I just like find a way to force that grease up in there. But most of my reels, once they get crunchy, they kind of just stay crunchy. I mean, it's not like they're to the point where it's like you can feel the individual gears, but like they make a little bit of noise. But honestly, I think every reel is going to get to that point, regardless of how much you grease it or how much you oil it. That's part of having bait casting reels, is because those gears, they start to crunch. But it's not like they're actually crunchy. They're just, you hear the gears. It doesn't affect the reel's performance at all. Most of those professional anglers that you see, their reels have crunch in them. I'm ambidextrous. I can use both. I prefer right over left, but I can use both. I feel like right-handed reels are just easier to find overall, because left is kind of the oddball. But like if I see a reel that I really want and left is the only option, that's fine. I mean, I'm ambidextrous. I can use both. I mean, this isn't a very good example, but because the reel's upside down, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, or if you're bank fishing and you can only cast certain ways, you know, you need to. I think something that every angler needs to know how to do is cast ambidextrously, at least. Because, like, if I try to cast along this bank because I'm in a creek or something and there's trees over top of me, I can't do this and cast parallel to the bank. I'm going to have to left-handed roll cast. So I think that ambidextrous casting is a mandatory thing, especially in flipping, because when you're flipping a bed, sometimes you have that much time before you need to start working the bait. You don't have time to switch hands because they'll take it instantly. And with bedfish, you got to set the hook about right when they pick it up, because all they do when they're on beds is they'll pick it up, they'll take it off their bed, and they'll spit it out. That's why bed fishing is so hard. You know, people hate on anglers because bed fishing is easy, but really it's a lot harder than you think, because sometimes they just won't hit it. They don't care. They're not going to touch it. And you got to work a fish for hours. I mean, I've worked the same fish for 3 hours, or I'll leave the fish, I'll come back later, and I'll work that fish for 20 minutes or so. This is a floating. This is a 7-inch Jackal Gantarelle. I don't have shad in the ponds where I live. They wouldn't survive here, so they all die. But this is a big old 7-inch Jackal Gantarelle, 2.5 ounce. And it floats. Now, something that's cool about it is these fins. If I tie it right here on the top line tie, they'll act as like a bill, like on a crankbait. They'll pull it down to about 3 feet. But when you put it on this bottom one, on the chin, these things work and they hold it up right under the surface. And it's just like a wake bait. But yeah, none of my ponds are really... I think I have one pond that may have shad in it. But it gets too hot in the summers here for them to survive in ponds. And too cold in the winter. They'd also die in the ponds in the winter. You know, in those big lakes where the shad can school up into those big bait balls to stay warm, you know, that wouldn't work here because it's so small. There's nowhere for them to go in the winter to get it's not deep enough. And the bait fish here would just maul them to death. Or the game fish in here. Like the green sunfish, the catfish, and the bass, they would just get mauled to death. I do want to put shiner in here, though. That would be a cool addition to the pond. I want to get shiner put in all my ponds. That and shad are just hard to move. Like, you can't catch shad from the lake that's 20 minutes from here and then bring them home. They'll all die. I have a couple nice ones in here, but honestly, I'm just throwing it to throw it. Like, I've never thrown anything this big other than a Spro KGB shad that I have, but other than that, I haven't really thrown anything this big. And big swim bait bites are always fun because they're always super aggressive. But yeah, this is a 2.5 ounce swim bait, and you really don't want to put bullet weights on a swim bait because they weigh it down and they mess with the action. Although this is built to where if you want to fish this thing on a bed, because you can do that, this bottom line tie, you can put like a drop shot weight on. You can tie a drop shot weight to the bottom of this, and you can fish it on a bed. It's a genius design. Jackal Gantarelle is I say centuries. It's years ahead of every swim bait company. And we're not even going to talk about the Guggen swim baits. They're terrible, terrible build quality. I think I've broken 3 of their contenders, junior and big. They're just not, they have great action and the design on them is all right. But their durability is not it. That was a big bass right there in front of me. I guess he didn't want it. Yeah, I love, what's up, RLC? Is RLC for like Redline Club, like Hot Wheels? I mean, I was using Guggen for the past 6 years. I wear Guggen. I use a few of their rods. I mainly use her Black Series rods. I have a couple Gold Series rods and a Green Series. But there's some things that I've noticed about their baits that just aren't desirable. Like, their hard baits, like their jerk baits are okay. Their crankbaits are all right. Their soft plastics are good though. Like they cooked with the soft plastics. And you know, they switched to that formula for their soft plastics a couple years ago that made them just a bit more durable. But their soft plastics are about like Yamamoto baits. They're just not durable at all. But I mean, they have such good action. Like, you know, what do you expect? You can't have a bait be super durable and still have amazing action. And, you know, I don't think there's a lot of stick baits out there that are better than lunker logs other than like Senkos, you know, Yamamoto Senkos, the originals. Those new Yamamoto bait Senkos are not the same. I miss the green packs. The green packs were infinitely better. But they were also a lot softer and more expensive. $10 for a pack of Senkos. That's what those Yamamoto baits were. But they also had some of the best action a Senko had ever had. Like, that wobble was noticeable in the fall. Yeah, but like, me personally, when it comes to soft plastics, other than speedworms will always have a soft spot in my heart. And speed crawls, I love those. I don't think there's a lot of things better than the bandito bug or the Kraken crawl. The fishing line is usable. Their braid is pretty good. I like the Guggen braid. The Guggen fluorocarbon, I mean, it works, but after a while, its absorption rate is pretty bad, and the sun does a lot of damage to it. It doesn't last very long. And their monofilament is hot garbage. I hate Guggen monofilament. It's some of the worst line I've ever used. I think it's comparable with that $2 spool of monofilament in Walmart. The Zebco Omniflex. That's what I think the quality of Guggen monofilament is. But their rods, like, I think their rods are pretty good. Like, you know, honestly, I got a Dobbins Championship HP Extreme, and that's a $370 rod. And my $300 Guggen go-to, I think, is pretty close to, you know, the Black Series go-to. I think it's pretty close to that rod. Now, I did get the 7'4" heavy HP Extreme because I wanted a rod that's a little bit stiffer for my worms and Texas rigs and whatnot. And honestly, it's kind of soft. it was softer than what I thought it would be. It still has the hook setting power. It just doesn't feel like a heavy. It honestly does not feel like a heavy. But it's still it still does a heavy action rod thing. It just doesn't feel like it because it's so light. You know, it is incredibly lighter than a Guggen rod. But that Guggen rod has such a crisp action, it just makes it more sensitive. Like, honestly, I think I want to get another Black Series go-to just because mine, it's had a long life. I've had it for 4 years, and it's got a lot of scratches and dings on it. And those honestly scare me because of that resin that they use. They use a nanotech resin on it, which it scratches off. And I'm scared that it's going to break because I scratched off so much of that resin. I say I scratched. It doesn't have as many scratches as I'm making it sound like, but I don't like it being scratched up. And that no slip resin that they put on the handles is also worn off over the past 3 or 4 years. But it also comes from a lot of misuse. You know, it's been thrown in the back of pickups a lot. And it's been misused a lot. You know, I've only broken 2 Guggen rods in my entire career. So I don't think it's because of poor build quality. They both travel, although, yeah, the Gold Series muscle is terrible. It breaks way too often. I do not like the Gold Series muscle rod at all. But the Green Series go-to, I broke one of those a long time ago, and I think it was because it was just a travel rod. It had scratches all up and down it. It probably had some micro fractures from being stepped on once or twice. It got abused. It was a travel rod. It was a 2-piece travel rod. What's up, Elijah? I think I can take my sunglasses off now. The sun's setting off. That's what real tuning looks like. Didn't even thumb it. Wait till wait till they start running with it. I've had that problem too. I'm kind of an impatient angler. I'm used to bass fishing. But wait till they start running with it and then just kind of lean into it. You know? And if you're getting nibbles or like you're getting little bites, just pick up on your rod tip so you can feel it. And then when they start running with it, then you just, like that, you just reel down into it and lean into it. That's what I do when I catfish. I'm not a very adamant catfish angler. You know, don't quote me on that. Honestly, just, are you using a bait caster or a spinning rod? Honestly, it's about the same. So the bait caster, you know, yeah, I don't really know what to tell you about that. Maybe tie your bait to the hook. I don't know. I don't catfish enough. Usually when I catfish, I use cut bait, and it stays on. I prefer cut bait over any stink bait, to be honest, because it doesn't smell as bad. And honestly, it's fresher. I think the catfish like it more than stink bait. I don't know if they find it as fast because it doesn't stink, but I get better results off of cut bait than I do stink bait of any kind. Rod, so like a push button or a spin cast, where the whole thing is enclosed and it's circular. Not like one of these. Hot dogs. Hot dogs are good, especially for carp. You soak those hot dogs in WD-40. You didn't hear that from me. I have caught many a carp on WD-40 flavored hot dogs. Don't tell anybody I said that. I know I just said it on YouTube Live. But honestly, the bait I prefer, take a little blue gigi. You know, blue gigi. Can't do it. Blue gigi. Yeah, blue gigi. Catch a little blue gigi. And then you cut it up into 3 sections. You got the tail piece with a little bit of back. You got the middle section, all back. And then you got the head. The head is the best part, in my opinion. The head is my favorite part to use in cut bait. And you just use that. And sometimes you've got to cut the head in half. Sometimes you got to do that if you're fishing for smaller kitties. Or green sunfish, because green sunfish are a pest fish anyways. They're really not good for any kind of pond. Usually green sunfish is what I use for my cut bait, just because they're pests and I don't like them anyways. They compete with bass and they cause problems. They'll take over a pond if you let them, because they get so big and have bigger mouths than bluegill. They will decimate a bass spawn. That's kind of how this runs. But I think you're talking of like a push button. So it's kind of like a bait caster. It's just less functioning parts. But if you're trying to get longer casts with heavier baits, you know, if you're putting like big weights on that catfish bait, what I've always done, because I use these big long rods for my bigger baits, you grip the butt and the reel. Grip the butt and the reel, and then in just one motion, I don't recommend casting like a bait caster like that unless you have it tuned that well to where you don't have to thumb it. Thumb the spool. This reel's been tuned really well, so I don't even really have to thumb the spool. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I make my big long casts with heavy baits. But honestly, there's a lot of catfish that are closer to the bank than you think. Like the catfish in here, I see them cruising the bank lines all the time. Just out looking for food. And you know those big flatheads that people catch? You know, most people either catch them noodling, which is just sticking your hands in holes along the bank, or they catch them just like on bank lines that are right off the bank. You know, blue cats are different. Blue cats, I typically, you know, see people catching them out in 50 foot of water, maybe a little bit shallower. But I mainly see those blue cats in deeper water, if that's what you're fishing for. But channel cats and flatheads, they run pretty shallow sometimes, just looking for fresh food. The biggest catfish I've caught is a 20-pound channel cat on a popper. You know, it was on a popping cork, old style. Old man put me on it. He said, "You'll catch them all on this thing," and I said, "Yes, sir." So I threw it, and I caught a 20-pound channel cat. I mean, I was holding it at my waist, and it was to my feet. Long, skinny sucker. Never sleep on the old man tactics. When they tell you how to fish, they know what they're talking about. I will never turn down fishing knowledge from an old fellow. I had my fair share of Zebcos. I don't like them. I don't like Zebcos. Never have. I use Shimano and Lose. I just got a Lose Elite TI, and that reel is pretty all right, I gotta say. I mean, it better be for a $500 reel. I need to get this boat tipped over. It's full of water from the rainstorms. We're getting a lot of rain, at least recently, which is not a common thing where I live. We will take every drop of rain we can get here, because the summers are hot and dry and windy. It's always windy here. Tonight is a different story, but tonight is also a blessing. Ooh, that was definitely a big old bass down there. It was a really pissed off catfish. I don't know, I've gotten some pretty intense blow-ups from catfish in my time, and I really don't like catching catfish on treble hooks. I caught a catfish on a Shimano flash bolt, and let me tell you, it was not a good day. It was a fun fight on that little 6'8" medium fast action, or moderate action, you know, a little jerkbait rod. It was a fun fight. But let me tell you, getting the fish off was probably one of the worst experiences of my entire life. I got 2 treble hooks on my hands. Then the fish decided it wanted to death roll after doing that, and it ripped all the skin up on my hands. And it was not a good day. That's the scar. Little L-shaped scar. It healed up really good. I caught a 12 out of this pond a long time ago. 12 pounds, 6 ounces. Pretty interesting catch for a little farm pond. But yeah, 12.6, that's my biggest bass I've ever caught. I might go put on a popper. Some of this grass is coming up to the surface. I need to dye this pond. Take care of some of this grass, because it's getting bad. Yeah, I don't think they're really trying to imitate alligators. I think that's what they do, is they roll. You know, that's how they, you know, when they bite bigger prey, they just do the same thing alligators do. It's instinct. You know, it's kind of like alligators, you know, a baby alligator this big will already instinctively know to death roll whenever it grabs onto its prey. Oh my God, I thought I got a fish for a second. Just got bogged down in the grass. Honestly, I'm just gonna slow the presentation down. Just barely move this thing every few seconds and then let it sit. Yeah, you did. I noticed that. I just didn't say anything. Ask a question, you may. I will answer yes or no. I bet I would have caught more if I put on that smaller swim bait, but what's the fun in that? I could probably catch like 15 fish in a matter of an hour on a Texas rig, but like, what's the fun in that? Why not throw a big swim bait and get some of the most aggressive bites of your entire life? Sure thing. We'll do that. I am throwing a big swim bait though, so I mean I could go get probably a popper and we could probably catch small fish all night. But I'm kind of throwing a big swim bait right now, so say big it was. I mean, I did catch a pretty small one earlier on this thing. I say small. It's probably like a 1.5, 2 pounder, close to it. And then I caught a nicer one, like a 2.5, 3. I don't know. It really, small is a, what's the term? Theoretical term, close enough. I mean, or it's small is a relative term. Some people say that anything under 4 or 5 pounds is small. Anything under 3 pounds is small. Some people say anything under a pound is small. It really depends on where you live and, you know, how you fish. You know, BFS anglers think a 3 pounder is the biggest thing on planet Earth. We also know that BFS anglers sit to pee, but I am in South Central United States. The heart of the nation, if you would. Also, nobody gives a shit about my state. That's another good good hint at where I live. What do you mean, Jingfu? Oh, OnlyFans. Yeah, I sell fans and OnlyFans. OnlyFans though. I don't sell radiators. You know, OnlyFans. What kind of fan are you looking for? A box fan? I got a lot of box fans. Ceiling fans too. I love ceiling fans. I cannot sleep without a ceiling fan. Or at least some kind of fan. Preferably a ceiling fan, they're quieter. There's one. I think that's a catfish. That feels like a catfish. It's either that or, oh, it's a bass. He's just not fighting very hard. I thought maybe he was just a catfish being lethargic and trying to stay down towards the bottom, but it's a bass. He ate it head first, just like how he's supposed to. He may have actually made my job easier too, because how we ate it. I do not mess with fish and treble hooks. There's another nice, 2-pounder. Oh yeah, the industrial fans or like the shop fans. We got a few of those in our weight room, in our gym at my school, and they're awesome. They do be getting steamy up in those gyms, and those things are nice. Me personally, ceiling fans is where it's at though. I think every room in every building in the state of Oklahoma should have a ceiling fan. I think it should be mandatory. If I were the state governor, I would make it mandatory to have a ceiling fan in every room. I do not sell any other appliance, so no toasters, no microwaves, just fans, only fans. I'm probably gonna get banned from YouTube after saying that. So, hope you all enjoyed the content, but that is the last thing you'll ever see from me. I'm gonna get banned after today. I hate it whenever I see like a really cool page, like it's like just stuff exploding, or just guns, or just A10 Burts. Those cool Instagram pages that are like the same thing every day. Or like the Boys Hub. We lost the Boys Hub. OnlyFans chick bought it. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely bigger fans. There's turbo fans, like on jets. And then there's those fans like on those industrial grade generators that like power half a town for cooling. Blurgigi. Have you ever cut blurgigi? Sometimes there's just something about a nice bluegill, you know? Catching a big old 8-inch bluegill on a little worm or a little crappie jig. Oh, look, bass fry. There's bass fry along this bank. I wonder if the bluegill are up here tearing them up. It's not necessarily a good thing, but I guess it's nature. It is nature doing nature things. Nature's cruel. That's how it is. I'm not going to intervene with it. The bluegill got to eat something. That's good, family friendly. I am a confirmed Lutheran, so I'm not super religious. I have not read the Bible. I need to. But I do believe in Jesus Christ our Lord. And I mean, when people ask for physical evidence, there's physical evidence that Christ is real. Whether you believe it or not, the physical evidence is there. I mean, look at society. What has happened to society has been prophesized, and it's happening. Society is broken. That's what I'm saying, Ralphie. Oh God, I think Taylor Swift is one of Satan's helpers herself. You know, all our Swiftie fans. I do not like Taylor Swift. You cannot convince me. All she sings about is all her breakups anymore. How terrible men are. Honestly, I was hoping that she'd break up with Travis Kelce after they got destroyed in the Super Bowl, which I thought was hilarious. We all knew it was going to happen. We knew the Eagles were going to win. And honestly, I'm not even an Eagles fan. You need to try bass fishing or bluegill fishing. They're both fun. They won't get as big as catfish, obviously. They won't fight as hard, but they're fun. Catfishing is a lot of sitting and waiting. Bass fishing can be that way, depending on how you fish for them. But bass fishing is some of the most aggressive. Bass are some of the most aggressive fish you'll ever catch, other than like striper. If I could put down every bass rod I own and just catch striper for the rest of my life, I would be happy. I love striper fishing. I've only done it once, but it was like, wow, how intense it was. You have like 4 or 5 rods just boom, boom, boom at the same time. This reel has not been set up, and it is not a very expensive reel or a very quality built reel. Wish this rod had braid on it. I do not like monofilament. Hot. Got a tractor move today. There's something on it. I want to catch a striper on this rod. It's just a little 6'8" medium, moderate. Striper would be so fun on this rod. Oh my God, what was that? I think that was a catfish. I doubt he hits this popper, to be honest. I wonder what those catfish are hitting when they break the surface like that. Or if they're even hitting anything. I wonder if just like cleaning their gills out, because those catfish like to bury down in that grass for oxygen. So I wonder if that's just they're cleaning their gills out like carp do. Maybe I should have grabbed a frog, because I don't have the patience to work a popper slow like you're supposed to. Oh, my drag is set way too tight. Still set way too tight. Still set way too tight. There we go. That's about right. Don't want to bend those trebles out. These trebles are incredibly sharp, but they bend out pretty easy. I mean, that's kind of how treble hook things are, though. Those treble hooks bend out pretty easy on these real finessey tactics. They use treble hooks like the Mega Bass Vision 110. They have really soft hooks, but they're also really sharp. The trick is to just loosen your drag and play with them so you don't bend your hooks out. Something about a popper is just so fun. Good God, he looks like he wants to throw those treble hooks in my finger so bad. And I'm just gonna take these little pliers here. I do not mess with small fish and treble hooks, man. You're doing it to yourself, Jimmy. Good God, he pulled off like half of the feather when he did that. Thanks, turd. You pulled the feather off the tail of my spook. Man, bass are hard on things. Metaphorically speaking, the reel explodes if it's not set right. Like here, the reel was set perfectly, and you know it didn't like explode. But you know, when you're casting in the wind or the reel isn't set quite right, the spool will start to spin faster than the line is coming out, and basically it'll just get all tangled up. It's called a backlash or a bird's nest. But I mean, if you have your reel set good enough, then it shouldn't happen. I mean, honestly, you should be able to cast a bait caster without thumbing unless like you're skipping, you know, but if you're just casting out in open water like that and there's no wind, you shouldn't have to thumb it. He didn't hit that one very hard. That's not even a bass. That's... Oh, it is a bass. It's just... This dude spawned this year. Look how small he is. And man, he has been feeding up. That has got to be the dinkiest little fish I've caught on this year. Future 10-pounder. You got to be optimistic when fishing. He'll be a 10-pounder one day. God, that popper sounds so good. I think I'm about to get blown up on. I should probably be throwing a frog just because I can throw it on braid. And I can really muscle those fish. Oh my God, he didn't hit that very hard. That's a nice fish though. It's a nice fish. Nice one yonder. It's a nice fish for this place at East. Love catching fish on these things. Topwater. So fun. That's nice. One yonder. What's good, this guy on VR? Popper really varies. I mean, you can run it however you want. Popper's more versatile than people think. Especially if you got a good one like this, a Guggen blooper. You know, hot take, it's one of my favorite poppers on the market. Just because it's cheap, but it's also good. You know, I wouldn't go clack it off a bridge, but really, with a popper, you can run it a lot of ways. You can just one big slow pop like that, You can hit it more aggressively. You can slowly crank it, and if you got a good popper, it'll actually swim back and forth like that. Or what you can do is you can do like really small twitches like that, and they'll walk back and forth like a spook. Or you can do like a jerkbait, or you can do like a stop and go, like a square bill, or you don't always do stop and go square bills, but some people do. But normally when I run a spook, I just do like a pop and then let it sit, or I'll do like a couple of pops and let it sit. That's how I usually get most of my bites. It really just depends on what the fish want, really. When it boils down to it, it's what the fish want. Especially when it's real calm like this, a subtle action is usually what gets the most bites. There's a nice sized fish right next to me. I'm gonna get on him. Be cool if I got blown up on right here. Don't think it's gonna happen. Why'd you do that, Isaac? Are you gonna tell us, or is this like a rage bait thing? Is it because I'm hurting the fish? Oh, okay. I mean, I could care less. What'd you report me for? Genuinely curious. Like, what'd you say I did? Or did you even actually report me? Or were you lying? Oh yeah, mosquito season is here. They are out and about doing mosquito things, and I do not like it. We're gonna move spots after I cast right there. Why? Because I want to. God, that was a nice fish. I doubt he comes back for it. Yeah, he's not coming back for it. There's no way. All right, let's move. It's getting dark. My phone's dying. It's at 16. I did turn on the battery saver. Hot take, battery saver does nothing for your phone. Especially on iPhones. It does absolutely nothing. I have noticed no difference. But there's a few big old bass up in here. Gonna get on them. Catch a quick 6 yonder. There's something big over there. I'd say big, probably bigger than a blue gigi. Blue gigi. Can't go wrong with a little bluegill rig. Oh my goodness, he came all the way out of the water for it. That was cool. I think it's funny when they just give up. You ski him in like that. Man, he ate it head first and everything. Like a good little glizzy. Oh goodness. I'm not scared of a lot of things, but I've been hooked in the forehead and in the hands a few too many times, and I'm not about it. I gotta tell you. Such a sick evening. Except for the bugs. Appreciate that. Oh my God, he missed it. I doubt he comes back for it too. Nothing but the bugs and the bloop of a popper. Another hot take. Blooper is a more suitable name. Oh, he did come back for it. Blooper is a more suitable name for a popper because they make more of a blooping sound when you think about it. That is another skinny little post spawner. I bet that's a female. She got a round looking bottom lip. Gotta get back in there. Bass in here going insane right now. Oh, he won't come off. Come on. There you go. Ah, he won't come off. There we go. Not a terrible one, I gotta say. A fish is a fish. Best quote in history. I don't even know who came up with that. Especially when you're like me and all you catch is dinks. Aside from that occasional 4-pounder and that 12 that I caught like 8 years ago. 8 years ago, 5 years ago. If that, maybe 4. And then I caught an 8-pounder a couple years ago. I think April of 2024. '24 was one of my best fishing years ever. I caught a lot of good fish that year. I caught a few 4-pounders, 5, a 6, and an 8. That was a good year for me. And winter was actually good fishing. Most years in the winter, fishing is terrible. But it actually wasn't bad. I didn't go as much as I would like to have. Winter fishing is extremely underrated. Yeah, it takes longer to catch a fish, but like when you do catch a fish, it's more rewarding. Because like you know that what you were doing right. You know, spring and summer fishing is easy. You throw something that looks all right and they'll hit it. But winter fishing, you gotta be doing like exactly what you need to be doing to get bit in the winter. No, he spit the hooks. Grr. Probably set the hook too early and too hard. That's what I don't understand. Like I understand throwing a hard hook set on a frog or, you know, a buzzbait or, you know, things like that, you know, Texas rigs and jigs. I understand setting the hook hard on fish like that. But when you're using treble hooks, there's really no reason to be setting the hook that hard. Unless your treble hooks are like dull and you know that. But even then, there's just no reason to set the hooks hard on treble hook baits. They're exposed and there's a lot of them. You missed it. If I get to 50 likes, I'll jump in the water. And we got a full moon tonight. We might be staying out after dark tonight because there's a full moon out. I don't know. It's kind of risky with treble hooks. I cannot lie. I want to get some green lights and put them like on the edge of my boat and then go night fishing on a boat with some green lights around the edge. Got about 5 more minutes before I need to go inside because I got things to do tomorrow before I go to a different spot, an even better spot than out here, which this spot's pretty mid, I gotta say, but it gets the job done. For being in my front yard, it's pretty nice, I gotta say. If I get a new bait and I want to see what it looks like, I just come out here. I don't gotta wait till I get a chance to go somewhere special. You know, if I get a new bait and I just want to see what it looks like, come right out here. One of the perks of living in the country. You just dig a hole in the ground and hopefully it seals and you fill it up with water and boom, you got a pond. There's more that goes into building a pond than that. Like this pond was built a long time ago, and I say a long time ago, about 50 years ago. Then it was dry in those 50 years, you know, because it just wasn't sealed. And then every time it would dry and there was cattle in here, you could let cattle run on it. And they'd come in here and they'd poop and pee and compact it down whenever it was still damp at the bottom of it in those 50 years. And eventually it just sealed and God forbid it stayed dry or it stayed full since it filled up a few years ago. I think it filled up 7 years ago. And we've done what we could with what we had to maintain it. And here it is, still full to this day. Stocked and stable. There's a few years where, I mean, even this year, the vegetation's pretty bad, but there's a couple years where the vegetation was so bad you couldn't even function. You know, you couldn't, all you could do is like throw a frog or a punch rig. About the only way you could catch fish. If someone in the comments states fishing knowledge that I don't know, I'll make you a mod. I know quite a bit. I don't know everything. There's still a lot I need to learn, even in just bass fishing. I don't know everything about bass fishing. It has to be bass fishing, though. It can't be like saltwater, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about saltwater fishing. Here come the bugs. What happens when you turn on the light? The bugs get really bad. I need to be chasing after the Lord. Got too busy chasing after the buses. Lord. I want to get one of those Yosuri poppers. They look good. Those ones you see in Walmart. Of course I want a Megabass popper. Who doesn't want one of those? Other than Megabass haters. I get a hit, but he misses it. I guess that's the downside of fishing a dart. Pause. Pretty sure there's a naughty term to fishing in the dart. I was hoping that full moon would get us some bites, but I guess maybe not. Got him. No, he came off. There's the fish, I think, behind the grass. I thought maybe I was in the grass. Now he's in the grass. He's not going to get me there that easy. He didn't hit it too hard, nor did he fight that hard. Makes me wonder if he's kind of beat up. Looks like he's got some sores on his mouth. Wonder if he's been caught once or twice or 3 times. Maybe it's because he almost got hooked in the eye. I like when they cooperate like that. Nice fishy. Back into water. He did not hit that very hard at all. Didn't even hear it, just felt it. Phone is at 4%. good chance they're not going to bite. I mean, how deep were you? 'Cause, I mean, if you're deep enough, throw a jerkbait. You know, they got a good reaction. Or throw something with a lot of action. Something that moves a lot of water with not a lot of movement. Sometimes that extra movement gets them to bite. You know, or just something that's so outlandish, like you think they would never bite because it's just so ridiculous. Just throw it at them. Sometimes they'll hit it just because they've never seen it before. They don't know what that is. But there's a good chance that, I mean, especially if she's on a bed, she was just not going to eat that day. We're kind of starting to come out of the spawning season into the postseason, so I don't know if maybe you're up north. What's up, Aiden? Moderator Aiden. He got here right towards the end because my phone's about to die. We've been on him today, Aiden. We got one on the 7-inch swim bait. Yeah, so they're probably on beds. There's a good chance that it just wasn't going to eat that day. Were you fishing for smallmouth in deep water? Or largemouth in shallow water? Or largemouth in deep water, or smallmouth in shallow water? Like, what were the fishing conditions? Do tell. I might be able to help you. I'm not a smallmouth angler myself, but I've paid attention to a lot of fishing videos. Probably need to do that in school more than I do fishing videos. But you know, it is what it is. What is that? Don't eat that. Did you throw a Senko at him? Like a weightless Senko? Or a wacky rig? Did you do that? Did you throw a weightless Senko at him? Need to answer like very soon because my phone's at 2. Yeah, that fish just wasn't gonna eat. If it won't hit a weightless Senko or a wacky rig, it's just not gonna eat. Hate to break it to you. I appreciate the questioning. I hope I helped you, but we're gonna have to end it. My phone's at 2%, and I don't like killing my phone completely. So I hope I was able to help. Good night to everyone. I will catch you in the next one.